This video is for Catholic views on employment. Now, if you get asked to describe or explain the Catholic stance on employment, it's a very straightforward question, all right? The first point you say here that God has given us specific gifts and talents to be able to do, what's called to be able to use in our field of work, all right? And at the same time to carry out his work, all right? Now, this message is taught in the parable of the talents, and at the end of it, where you see that the people are rewarded for using their talents to do the master's work, to do God's work. Okay, so that's the first point. The second point is that there are certain jobs that God would not want us to have as they go against our responsibilities that God has given us. So, for example, Genesis teaches of how we are all made stewards of the world. So, if we were to have a job that went against what's called it was environmentally unfriendly, okay, working in a sort of a company like that wouldn't be something that would sit well with God. The third point here is that there are some jobs that God would want us to have. Okay, so for example. A charity worker, doctor, nurse, or teacher helps to fulfill our responsibility to show love to thy neighbour, but also to spread the word of God. All right. So myself, obviously, I'm an RE teacher. I am directly fulfilling it's called God's plan by teaching about the faith in my job. The fourth and final one is that Catholics should not take employment that causes them to be hypocritical. All right, so this is based on Jesus' teaching that says why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not what I say? So essentially what this means is, why do you appear to follow my teachings when actually you don't? All right, and he warns of the dangers of being a hypocrite. Now, you could get asked an evaluation question on this, all right, similar sort of one as before we spoke about with whether it be drugs or alcohol, that type of thing, right? And if you do, then it'll probably be phrased something like, it doesn't matter what job I have as long as I am a good person. That is what really matters. Do you agree? Give reasons why somebody would disagree. Now, if you were going to agree with the statement, that the points that I would really focus on are that there are other ways to serve God. All right. So, for example, your time in work is the minority of your time. Okay, probably constitutes around a third of your time. Okay, so instead, Catholics can focus on really carrying out God's work in the other part of their lives. So it could be through working with the SVP, could be donating to charity, raising a Catholic family, etc. Okay, now, the second point that agrees with the statement about why it doesn't matter what job you have is that essentially we all need a job to survive and to be able to provide for ourselves and for others. Okay, so that has to take precedence, is what some people would argue. All right, and I think the reasoning behind this is the economic climate that we live in today's society, where jobs are not easy to come by. All right, and then when it comes to explaining the impact this has on someone's life, then you could say therefore some people would feel compelled to take any job, all right, or a job that is available to them, all right, because of the other responsibilities they have. And you could even mention there that if they do have, if they are Catholic, then they could be motivated to make change from within. So they could work for a major corporation, all right, that exploits people across the world, all right, with cheap labour. Okay, well, they could set up some sort of initiative within their company to help overcome this issue. When it comes to the alternative side of this, you just draw upon the ideas that I gave above about the fact that Catholics, that they should not take employment that causes them to be hypocritical for the teaching that Jesus gave of why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not what I say. Okay, so therefore, all right, that these Catholics feel motivated to take sort of jobs that fulfill Jesus' teaching. So once again, talk about doctor, you can talk about nurses or working for an environmentally friendly company. The second one, all right, is focused on how God has given us specific gifts and talents to use to carry out his work, and that involves when we're employed as well. So it's because you look again to the parable of the parable of the talents. Okay, but the fact that God rewards us for using our talents to carry out his work. Okay, so therefore the impact of this, and you can talk about then how somebody who is a good orator, a good speaker, or confident, that they may feel drawn to being a teacher. Or you could say that somebody who is caring, that they take a job as a carer, or a nurse or a doctor, and that is their way of serving God. So that concludes our teaching on what type of job or employment that a Catholic person should have.